Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Kevin here from lp24audio.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make a sound like this. Essentially, we're making an old style VHS sound and reminiscent of retro, lo-fi, perhaps Boards of Canada style sounds. Now, this sound you're hearing is from our ambient chill out collection called the Old VHS, and we're going to start from scratch. We're going to actually recreate it using sine wave, and a lot of the Boards of Canada sounds, and groups like Rival Consoles and Tycho kind of get a lot of their sounds from this vibe. They usually start with sine wave, and we're gonna just kind of grab a couple sine waves and get this started. Okay, one of the techniques to get lo-fi sound real quickly is noise. Noise represents kind of a lo-fi tape quality, if you will. So we've added some noise, and the next step will be to add some pitch movement. That's incredibly important for this kind of sound. So we're just going to grab an LFO and put it on oscillator 1 and 2. And we're going to play with the rate. Usually for the lo-fi stuff, I don't BPM or anchor it. Instead, just let it kind of free flow in the background around 1 cycle per second or so. And we're going to have to fine tune the amount of detuning. So you can kind of minimize that here. So just a little bit of movement in the pitch so it goes in and out of tune. Classic. And the other thing will be maybe not so obvious is to take a second LFO and apply it to the tuning as well. Let's just do it to this layer right now. I'm going to turn this one down. Okay, so coarse tuning is a little more sensitive. So again, we have to go to our matrix, and we're going to have to reduce that quite a bit. Okay, and the key is with this one, to emulate a tape, they would warble in and out. Let's say around 30 hertz or so. So in some ways we're doing like a light FM here. We're taking a faster LFO and modulating the pitch. And it gives this really kind of ominous old sound. See, too much, too little. But just a touch of that in there, it adds this kind of unstable, quality, kind of like a VHS tape would have. So those are two main ingredients. The other thing to get going quickly is distortion. And I like to do ones that either get it in that lo-fi state, like downsampling, or zero squared, like bit crushing. So we're going to try a bit crusher, because we're trying to make it sound as old as possible. And I'm going to high pass it a bit, so you get that kind of crunchy high pass bit. Okay, and it's too much, so we're going to mix that out. So see, we're starting to get some of those characters of a tape machine, or VHS to be specific. Other things I did was I was trying to add some movement to that sound with sync oscillators and a little bit of AM from the synced oscillator. Okay, so syncing will allow you to kind of bring in some different harmonics from what was a sine wave. In fact, let's listen to that by itself. You can get some lovely harmonics even from a sine wave that's been doubled up on itself or something like that. Now, when that kind of thing is turned down, but it's doing AM, amplitude modulation on this sine wave, see the difference? You get some extra harmonics. Some are actually lower in frequency here. I'll show you this readout here, if it'll stay open. See, we're actually adding in some low end stuff, which you may or may not like. However, if this were in the beginning of the song, say, something like might be cool to have that low-end information. Otherwise, you might end up high-passing it a bit or not doing as much AM. So I'm going to make that move with another LFO. So the amount of amplitude modulation, the way I did it before was kind of just picking a random shape here or two. Again, a little randomness, a little bit of extra movement here and there that's not related to your tempo would probably be a good way to go for these sounds, because that's the retro way, right? A little unpredictable. Even an extreme amount's kind of nice. And then notice when you play with this, you're going to get different timbres. Even though it's turned down, it's modifying B. Okay, next we're going to filter. We're going to add a little bit of either cut away those lows if you don't like them, or maybe band pass to focus on the mid-range a bit. Oh, got to turn B on, so oscillator B's in there. This comes into your tastes. You know, you can click this mix knob too and you get like a volume instead of just mix, so you could kind of gain stage it into the effects stage. Alright, now let's add our effects. We put distortion, which is crucial, but these effects I'm going to put secondary, and they enhance the width, you know, like a small dimensional delay here, and also a little bit of unison. Compression's probably going to help us out, get that lo-fi kind of saturated quality here, especially at a high ratio. You could also multiband it, but it's going to bring out this distortion incredibly. Have a listen. Okay, so I'm not going to necessarily do that on this patch. Okay, the other things are tonal shaping and width. With coarse, we can add a little width, just a touch perhaps. We could also get some of these highs and maybe lows accentuated. Some reverb. And then another little trick is to grab the reverb filter. Okay, it's going to kind of add a lot of resonance at a frequency here that we choose. Maybe mix that out a bit. I'll put the reverb last, I think. Here we go. Now just a little release time. Play with the attack, give it a little time to get going, and you're off. Let's hear it. Alright, I'm finding it to be a little too warbly, so we're going to go in here again and adjust some of these. I'm also going to bring some of those highs back here, so let's actually use the mix instead of the level. There we go. Hopefully you found that useful, how to take some of the LFOs and add some unique movements to pitch, utilize your filters and effect sections with noise to enhance a kind of, you know, simple waveform. We're enhancing. It's a little bit of an additive process in that you start with a simple waveform and you keep adding on these types of movements and modulations. If you like these videos, just like and subscribe, and we really appreciate any feedback. Leave us a comment or check us out at lp24audio.com. Thanks.